235 people died on the country's roads over the Easter weekend. This is a decrease of only 25 fatalities compared to 2019. The Transport Department has set aside the 2020 stats because the country was under alert level 5 of the lockdown. Meanwhile, March has come and gone, and so far the deadline, of course, also passing when it comes to e-tolls in Gauteng. Residents have been patient with the ongoing delays, but when exactly will we know about e-tolls? Well, joining me now in studio to provide some clarity is Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula. Thanks for your time, Minister. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Shahan.
So let's start with the Easter death toll that we saw. You just released it earlier on today. That number is still relatively concerning, isn't it? So what's not working in this clampdown?
The number... 200 people dead on the roads is high a number, even though we've seen the decrease in most of the provinces. The causes of this, obviously, is the behavior of the motorist, the driver, in terms of not obeying the rules, alcohol, and then pedestrian negligence and recklessness, where people want to cross in areas where they're not supposed to. So that's what really accounts. And these accidents happen during the curfew between 12 o'clock and 2 a.m. in the morning. That tells you that people were from shebeens or house parties, drunk and all of that, and they get themselves into accidents.
Yeah.
So it did not happen this time around during the long distance driving. And we did not have accidents from big buses and minibus taxis. So these accidents were mainly pedestrians and somehow small vehicles.
Is there any way we can look at stricter measures to deter people from driving recklessly or drunk on the roads? Is there any alternative? Because we've been talking about this for years, right? And it boils down to behavior. That's it.
Up until people know that drink and drive, you get a fine. They will still take their chances. But nonetheless, on our part, we're examining that. We're looking at the attitude, we're looking at the law. As you know, we have tabled, the amendment to the Road Traffic Land Transport Act in relation to 0.0. But in the long term, we're looking at the laws biting. We know that you can pay a fine and then you get, that is a consequence management. So we are putting body cams on our traffic officers to minimize, bribery and all of that. So I just witnessed that today. So it's going to be a massive program. But also we need law enforcement bodies on the ground, but law enforcement accompanied by harsher laws.
Yeah, and the demerit system would be something that would also work in your favor when it comes to reckless driving and, of course, driving under the influence of alcohol. When is that going to come into effect?
We're looking at July. We are running behind. We're looking at July. We have had challenges with our agency that implement that. But nonetheless, we will overcome. So July is the D-date.
Yeah. So talking about running behind, let's talk about e-tolls, right? You set yourself a March deadline. You haven't met that deadline. Why? What's taking so long to come to a decision?
We have discussed the e-tolls at the level of cabinet. We reached a deadlock with Treasury on the implementation part. So a decision that we arrive at as cabinet will be announced. And once we pass those hurdles with National Treasury and we go back to Cabinet, I should be able to come to you and the public and to say what is the way forward. It's a big thing, and I thought that by the 1st of April we would have done that. The Cabinet cycle also becomes a challenge, but nonetheless, I'm looking forward that before April we should come to, because people are anxious.
Yeah.
They need to know about this, and I'm quite aware. So I'm driving this. I can't blame anybody. The President gave it to me from the point of view of transport, but we don't work alone on that matter. Concurrence with Treasury for implementation of whatever decision that Cabinet arrive at must be done fully with Treasury. So we're working on that with Minister Mboweni. So He's fully aware that we need to get this out and done with and dusted. So, look, I no longer want to put deadlines, but I'm certain that in the next two cabinet meetings that are coming, this matter will feature in the agenda, and we should be able to rest it there and come back and brief you about what is the decision of government on this matter.
The fact that you are relying so heavily on feedback from Treasury, and you said there was a hurdle there as well, does that mean that ultimately motorists in Gauteng won't have to pay for e-tolls? Is that something you're looking at? We are looking
at all the options: scrapping, not paying, user pay principle, the implications of that in relation to the economy, and to the whole strategy of funding the road infrastructure in the Republic. And that is what is important, because we're looking at the economics of that, but at the same time, the user pay principle in relation to the compact we've got with society on this particular matter, and where people have defaulted. Clearly, over the years, people have defaulted. We are here where we are because people are refusing to pay. So that is the reality we're dealing with. Otherwise, from the economic point of view, you will be very aware that the consequences of non-payment are dire for our economy and implications for government and funding the road infrastructure in the Republic. So somehow, we've got to get to the middle road. There's no two way about it. We've postponed this too long, but it is not because we didn't want to resolve. It's because every time we come to the table, we look at 7 options when I arrived, and then we reduce that to one hybrid model, and then we have to put that aside and look at what do we do to get out of this. And I'm sure, I mean, many motorists, including yourself, you are owing a lot in terms of this. I've met with Auta, I know where they stand. I've met with COSATU, I know where they stand. I know generally where people stand on this particular matter. So I'm sitting where I'm sitting, knowing what everybody think, and the general populace doesn't want to pay for e-tolls. And the biggest headache is what do we do with the debt. And that is one hurdle that we need to go over. And how are we going to subsidize the road infrastructure in the country with our people coming to the party? So once all of those things which we have considered are done, we find each other with Treasury, and we go to Cabinet, we should be in a position to basically make the decision known.
All right, hopefully we'll hear from you in the next couple of months. So we at eNCA, of course, did a road focus. We looked at the state of our roads across the country yesterday. We saw lots of those things, potholes all over the place. We spoke to Jacob Mamabolo, the MEC for Transport in Gauteng. He painted a very bleak picture on the number of potholes in the province. So let's talk about what's being done, because we were told yesterday that there's inefficiency when it comes to dealing with it. There's a lack of money. There's money being wasted. What can you do as national government to sort this out once and for all?
Transport is a concurrent function. National roads are in a good state, despite the challenges we have with SANRAL. Provincial roads, we've got an allocation that we give to the provinces to fix the roads at the level of the provinces, which is PRMG, Provincial Road Maintenance Grant, which was launched in 2011, and it was called Sihamba Sonke program, I think, by Spundebele. I'm going to revitalize that, but money is there. It's been spent in the provinces, in certain instances mismanaged. Our infrastructure has actually been aging. It needs a total revamp at the regional level, and we need to focus on that, close not only the potholes, build new roads, and do that. So we will focus on that revamped, and as we speak now, we are looking at that we're looking at that as a campaign. But secondly, we've got the stimulus package from the president. We are looking at spending 1.9 billion rand on the new road infrastructure. That includes paving of roads in the rural areas, and equally that is of the roads remain the key priority of our department, and they're working with the provinces, and even municipalities. And some of this money, where you see potholes, you go to Mthatha. I've known of potholes in that place for as long as I was not even Minister of Transport. And they never get fixed because money comes, the demands, are desperate in such a way that you've got to allocate money in sewage, people are protesting, and then potholes don't become a priority. So we need to deal with that. If you go in the Eastern Cape between Mthatha and Ngobo, the road was supposed to be fixed by now. The contractors came and did not fulfill their part of what they were supposed to do, and then everything has collapsed. I'm working with the MEC. We're going to fix that. But I don't want to make pronouncements till we find each other with Sanral and also the provinces.
You see, Minister, that's where the problem is, though, right? It's accountability for people who are hired, contractors who don't do the job properly, people within the department in provinces and possibly your department who's wasting money and abusing the resources. And that's why we're sitting here saying we still don't have enough money to repair roads. So when it comes to accountability, and that's the one thing South Africans always want, who's being held accountable for the years of wastage that we've seen, for the years of us talking about the same problems with road infrastructure? Maintenance is supposed to be part of the plan, right? But we're still talking about maintenance.
It has worked in many provinces, maintenance. Where it has not worked, it is ineptness and incompetence and lack of management, and at the same time, not only irregular, fruitless, like money is allocated, and then you're supposed to fix a road between Mthatha and Ngobo, and then the money go down the drain. Somebody there must be arrested. That has not been happening because institutions of the state have actually colluded. Those who are supposed to chase criminals and hold them accountable, bring them to the fore, and make them account for the monies of the people have not been doing their job. There are cases in the system. I was Minister of Police that I've looked at, and I don't know why people were not arrested. It's because of the fact that the institutions of the state had basically collapsed. It almost became business as usual. You can change the ANC government even tomorrow and actually have a new government as long as the state, as in the state, is not stronger to deal with elements of corruption, whether you are ANC or not, but within the public sector, in terms of money allocation, and organs of state are basically weakened. You must know there is no rule of law in that country. Corruption will go on and on and on like as if nothing has actually happened. At some point, people, Bonang Mohali comes to our workshop and he says, Minister, arrest 4 or 5 people at the top, and then the rest on the bottom will see, hey, people have been arrested. And then that will inspire confidence. But we have not seen that. Then to the point where you then begin to question the state. Remember, our task as the executive, as much as we do all of this particular thing, but it does not put aside the role of the state must be stronger. Which other people want to say, dilute the state, make it weaker, and then South Africa must just become sheepish and be counted number 3 as the most corrupt country and all of that. That is not what we fought for. Even from the perspective of the ruling party, the state must be stronger, must be strengthened, not for ourselves, but for society in general and for years to come.
So what can you do as minister to deal with these people who you say for yourself have not been fired, they haven't been arrested? We can't just sit here and talk about it, right? Something has to be done. And I know it's another job for you to do, but in order for you to fix the rot within the department and provinces, you have to act and make sure that something happens.
My job as Minister of Transport is to fix potholes with my counterparts. I'm on it. We have faced an aging infrastructure, we have faced disaster, we have faced a pandemic. And then the job of fixing potholes will not end with this interview. It is on my plate. It is part of my agreement with the President. I'm telling you, Sihamba Sonke is going to be revitalized so that I actually have control for the money that I allocate to the provinces. And those who are basically corrupt are brought to book. I'm confident now with the reaction I've seen. I know that the heads are rolling as we speak. We should be inspired. Yes, it is not enough because you don't have the big fish. you know, but those who are committing corruption, I see the verpa every day, going up and down the Hawks, doing their job and taking people, bringing them to book, arresting them. That's what we want. That's what we want. I do my job, and then they do their job. And those who have got tenders and have got contracts, they must deliver.
Yeah.
And then that is what we're going to do. And that is what, in the context of the concurrence, governance between myself, provinces and local, we need to ensure that we basically deliver, and where there is no delivery, there must be consequences.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the ANC now. We'll move away from your position as Minister
You want to
of
put
Transport.
me into trouble?
No, you've already put yourself in trouble on Twitter, right? So you can't blame me.
Yeah.
Let's start with this. Ace Makashule, the Secretary General, was out yesterday. He said that the ANC's top 6, NWC and NEC, all divided. Do you agree with that statement? Is it that divided, do you reckon?
No, well, I can't say that anything about the SG. We have spoken openly in our National Executive Committee that comments that are divisive, and we talk past each other like we are a picnic, you know, and even a picnic is better because it's well organized, people bring their food. But ANC has got the task to lead society. So I can't come here and say, Shahan, in the ANC, we are going this direction, and somebody comes. What brings us together is the principle. And that principle is what President Ramaphosa has basically outlined post the NEC meeting in relation to our decisions. So we stick with that. What an individual feels or feel aggrieved about processes and want to mobilize, the NEC, when it meets, will have to deal with that. Our job here is to say we have said to our people, at some point we've veered away and they've given us a chance. I was heading that election and they said that you are not dealing with corruption. We know that you're capable of dealing with fixing the economy and all other things, but you are lax when it comes to corruption. And you've got to show us that it's a perception out there, which we know in the movement. Now, the fact that some of our senior officials, including the SG and everybody else, get arrested, it means what is the attitude of the movement in relation to those people? We must then be guided by consistency, and then we must be guided by principle and by resolutions. Remember, when these things happened to us and our president, former deputy president, was arrested and hauled to the courts, we didn't have conference resolution. We had to create a Jacob Zuma resolution. Now we've got resolutions that guide us on these matters, how to deal with them. And it's not easy to have the party secretary general arrested and being accused. And it's not easy. Now, in the decorum of the organization, we have agreed on the processes. And we then said that within a certain time, 30 days, the processes will basically kick in. And that is final. The president made it clear. I cannot come here and tell you how I feel or I don't feel. I can also tomorrow be in the shoes of the SG. And at the same time, what will the ANC say about Mbalula? It doesn't mean that I was in the struggle when I was still young, and therefore I want to blame it on this and that and formulate insurrectionary phrase mongering about RET that is fictitious. It's a policy of the ANC. We all know that. So we can't become a force within the ANC. The ANC is one. And that is it.
But your COO, basically the caretaker of your organization, who's supposed to be looking after the organization's reputation, is going out and saying that you are divided at the top levels. And that's the problem, right? Because you're trying to come out as a united party who goes into NEC meetings and comes out with a decision, but then a leader like Ace Makashule goes out and says, we're divided.
No. You must understand, we debate. You don't go to a meeting and agree.
Yeah, I know that.
We debate, and it does not mean you are divided. And it means that...
He said so.
No, what he said, he will account to the movement about it. I'm not the SG of the ANC. First and foremost, I'm a member of the ANC NEC. So I can rebuke the SG. And the SG, if he said that, he will have to account. The moment I start to rebuke the SG, I'm becoming part of the problem.
I'm not asking you to do that, Minister.
No, I'm not. I understand.
I'm not asking you. I'm asking you to tell me whether you think, like he does, that the ANC is divided at the top, because that's a prominent member of the ANC saying that publicly. And if you disagree with that, then that's what I'm asking.
It is not divided. There is dissent, which is acceptable, and it's not like it's a decision that is taken without people having a different view. It does happen in an organization like ours, in the National Executive Committee, but at the end, there is a view of the organization. And it doesn't mean that things fall apart. We are aware in the organization that people want to mobilize, want to do this. It's unnecessary to do that, because the center must hold. The ANC must live not only for us, for generations to come. And the decisions that are arrived at may not favor our feelings. I was a minister of police at some point. I was told to go to Luthuli House. When I was told to go to Luthuli House, it was like the trousers were falling on my knees, because I was a top dog, so to say, in the township lingo, and a minister of police, and then shifted from a post. And then when I was told about that decision and comrades wanted to protest about it in the meeting of the ANC, I was the one who stood up and said, comrades, the day we come to ANC meetings and talk about ourselves, that will be the death of our organization.
Yeah.
Even if your feelings, this is what Chris Hani says to us, my feeling, it doesn't matter in an organization as big as ours. You put your feeling aside. I feel bad that my comrade is arrested, and probably I've got reservations about that arrest. But at the end, what do we live for? Principle. And when these things have got to apply to ourselves, it's good to shout.
Yeah.
Slogans, principle, and all of that. Wait till it happens to you, and we see you, whether you are a man of your word, and whether you can lead.
Yeah.
You see, yes, people can celebrate, step aside for Ace. Maybe they didn't like him, some others, and all of that. But it will happen to others. So what it helps us about is that it helps us to be consistent. It means we don't have to go and ask ourselves, Shahan, Mbalula, today there is these issues you are faced with in terms of the law. What happens to you? All what we must guard against is the state not to be abused to settle political scores. And if people make such allegations at random and without backing them with evidence and throw the name of the president and attack the state and weaken the state and all of that, the ANC can't agree to that. It can't agree to that, because you've got to back up. For instance, Shahan, when we argued that Zuma is being dealt with, we had evidence why we were saying that. It could be an evidence that was weaker, that the Minister of Justice and a public prosecutor, they go public and say that we've got a case but we can't arrest. They shouldn't have done that. Then secondly, they go brief journalists. They shouldn't have done that. If Lamula today can then say, no, Mahashule, we've got a case against him, but why does he have to do that? The state is acting. So we must not meddle into things that will basically compromise the integrity of the state and basically encourage upsurge and mobilization and insurgency talk and all of that and so on, when things cannot clearly be backed up by empirical evidence that people have been dealt with the political chop. They have been dealt with because they are a threat for this and that. Those things cannot be backed up.
So last year the ANC came out with a very hard-hitting statement that you are now fighting corruption, right? Many people would disagree that that was a genuine statement, because we're still waiting to see people arrested. You come out again and you say, no, we're standing firm on this. You have your SG who's fighting against this 30-day step-aside rule or any step-aside rule. You meet, you discuss, it goes to branches, it comes back to you. You come and you say 30-day step-aside. How do we as the public, members of the public who vote for the ANC, who don't vote for the ANC, honestly believe that you are genuinely fighting corruption when we see everything play out publicly? We see the division. We see the unhappiness.
No.
That's the end game, right? Like, are you actually doing what you say you're doing when we can see otherwise?
Like I say, the ANC as an organization all the time examine this question. It is difficult. It has got people with vested interest in top position. In this country, you have seen ANC mayors. You have seen people who are in positions in the ANC, not only the SG, being arrested in the public domain. And then those people control constituencies. And they try to mobilize against and use their own power to say, I'm being dealt with. You have seen people being bussed into court cases where ANC members have been arrested and accused with serious things. And then it is almost a culture that the ANC must deal with. It is correct what you are saying, that that image affected the ANC negatively. And we have been dealing with that, and it is only us in our deeds and actions who are going to undo the perception that we are lax about our attitude towards either our members or corruption generally in society. So it's not a question that you can answer here in the studio and say, no, we are tough. Up until you tell us that, no, we can see. But also, we don't control the state. We can't call for people because they are members of the ANC. It is alleged that they are corrupt. And therefore, you say before even they are convicted that you change the principle of the Constitution and you say that you are guilty as charged. It can't be. The ANC have got integrity to look at itself and say, when our members are charged, what is our attitude? The ANC then took a decision to say, when our members are charged, a decision they took at Nazareth is that members must step aside to give a process a chance. But it does not mean when it is said step aside, you are removed from a position. No. You may be a minister charged, and then you will be removed from that particular position because it's a deployment position. But politically, you are not removed in an elected position.
Well, you need to tell your members that who are fighting this.
No, they know. They know. It is very clear, the position. The only thing is that it's a mobilization. It's a mobilization, and it's a mobilization which I am saying to you.
It's an ugly battle that's showing out publicly.
It is not an ugly battle from the point of view of those people who are affected and do not want to see things the way they have been resolved. Maybe they didn't think that these things will come to the crunch. Now that things are happening, and they mobilize openly. They mobilize, they coin slogans, they do everything, they coin organizations, RET, they do all of those things, which is generally an ANC. The ANC will have to step up its act, and the center must hold. If we go to the next conference and our organizational report give an account of a leadership that did not act when the organization was being ruptured by problematic individuals who undermined the cohesion of the organization, the membership of the ANC will have all the right, to say, you are useless and you don't even, some of you deserve to actually come back. Because now, the membership of the ANC have met and have given us a clear mandate of what needs to be done. And it is the comparison I was giving you, unlike before, where there was no such. They went to town. And people want to be selective because those 9 points in terms of fighting corruption are intertwined. You know, they are intertwined. You can't look at the other at the expense of another one. They are not mutually exclusive. You need to understand what it actually means.
Who are the problematic individuals?
The point of problematic individuals and who is at the center of accusation of this and that is not for me to basically talk about it here. Less I risk to be a judge about individuals. The principle is clear, is that those who are affected and all of that, there must be something that is done based on conference resolutions of the ANC. And that is very clear. Those who are arrested, and that is it. So if you are arrested tomorrow, police arrive and all of that, you are a member of the ANC, and you are accused about corruption, you must step aside and not make us debate things that we don't have to debate. That is what it is.
As it stands, are you satisfied with the state of the ANC right now? Are you an organization that South Africans can trust?
We are on the recovery. We are on the recovery. We work very hard every day to win the confidence of our people. And whether we have arrived on that, the measure, it will depend on how people react to the ANC and the polls. And also, the dipstick the ANC use will tell as to what is the attitude of the people towards the ANC as we speak, which is the examination that the ANC does all the time. And we don't take that for granted.
Yeah.
And that is why we have, in terms of renewal, taken certain steps that it's going to be tough, because those who are going to be affected differently by the renewal process will fight. They will fight because they've got nothing to gain.
Yeah.
You know, it's like almost we're in Colombia if you watch Don Pablo Escobar. Unfortunately, South Africa and the ANC can't be turned into Don Pablo Escobar. It is a liberation movement. Pablo Escobar and what he is cannot be ANC. ANC is Che Guevara, and ANC is Kwame Nkrumah, and the ANC is Oliver Tambo. So we can't be something else, a gangster.
Yeah.
Yeah, we formulate things and do things and render the country ungovernable around individual on fictitious reasons and all of that. We stick with the principle because we are Oliver Tambo. And that is what we must stick with. And it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy because we are friends. We feel good about each other. And then they tell you openly, these people, that you see, SG is a test. Is a test. If they take him, it means they can take everybody on. If you are implicated in corruption, you must face the consequences of the step aside. Doesn't matter who you are. That's what the conference resolution says. It's not something that, and it's not about our dislike. Like I said, some other people can be disliking somebody and they see an opportunity or campaign. And even go to the state and say somebody must be arrested for this and that and all of that. But the state at the end of the day must take decisions without impartiality, without looking with political goggles and without being intimidated. Because South Africa is not about to become what Colombia was under Escobar or what Mexico was under those gangsters. And that is why we said, even when we see the gangsters parading in South Africa wanting to turn this country into something like that, we have said that not in this republic. Because the rule of law and the rule of law will be respected. Now, the ANC as the leader of society can't be something opposed to that. It has got to be something that leads society in that particular direction. So once it becomes something else, then people will not have confidence. They will say that, what do you expect from these people? Unfortunately, that position is not a position that was imposed on us. We earned it because of our leaders. Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo. And all those people made us society to look at us as people who can be trusted. And that is what we must stand for going forward.
All right.
Not because at some point our leaders were Pablo Escobar and a gangster movement and all of that. They respect us because the ANC that they know is the ANC that was the ANC of Oliver Tambo, Winnie Mandela, and all of that. So we've got to stick with that. If we fail, then we're gone. And we shouldn't be surprised when we are voted out because of our ineptness and not being in a position to read the mind of our people and respond to what they want from us.
Minister, again, you should record yourself say all of this and play it in all of your offices, because that's what people in your organization needs to hear, right? I want to end on a very light note, because you're known as Mr. Fix on Twitter, right? Let's look behind me. I came across something on Twitter today. I'm a bit old, but let's take a look at it. Listen, everybody's dragging you on Twitter saying, don't you know those are sparkles? You can't blow out a sparkle. It's not a candle.
Yeah, no, I know that, but it is 50, so I'm allowed to turn a sparkle into a candle. So I'm allowed to do that because half a century not out. So my wife put up a splendid thing for myself, so I'm proud of her.
Yeah.
And I've passed many things in my life, and I count my blessings that I'm still alive, and many of my friends and people who were close to me are no more. And but nonetheless, it's great to be alive and still soldiering on. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I hope you come back on the show at another stage.
Thank you.
That, of course, is Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula.